if there is law enforcement and you are impeding law enforcement and they tell you to stop and you drive your vehicle at them, case law does say that now that vehicle can be considered a deadly weapon.
I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Whoa! What a week.
It has been a wild week in Minnesota, especially. What a lack of respect and honor for our...
Well, and a lack of leadership. So you've got Governor Tim Walz, who was going to be vice president of the United States of America, which is horrifying. You're seeing unprecedented fraud, complete lack of leadership, and now you're seeing dishonor, disregard, disrespect for law enforcement and lawful enforcement of laws. And so, America, we were this close to having this man be second in command for the entire country.
Wild. What do you, just not to get off track, but what would America look like today?
Well, you've got Kamala Harris, who was complicit in arguably the greatest cover-up in the history of the United States of America, and that is the cognitive, not just decline, but complete inability of the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. And went on the record repeatedly to defend his cognitive abilities, saying that she works with him and, he's sharp and competent and capable, which honestly, if your allegiance is to the United States of America, that is damnable because you're defending your boss and you are putting at risk your nation.
Yep.
That is a man who was in no condition to be holding the office, let alone signing up for 4 more years. I mean,
think about all the things that have happened in the last 12 months since Trump's been in. I mean, there was threats of nuclear war, the war in Israel, the war in Ukraine, the trade war, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk would be in prison. Yeah.
Well, now you know that. Now we know that Biden had other significant health issues that had to have been covered up. And so this is a man who couldn't do the job when he was in office and today wouldn't be able to do the office. And, perhaps it seems a little nefarious, but maybe that's why she was excited for him to run again, knowing that she would inherit the office.
Yeah.
And then she could run 2 times and maybe she could be president for 11 or 12 years.
Gosh.
And so under her would be Tim Walz. And between the two of them, you would have the most pro-abortion, ticket in the history of the United States of America, supporting abortion up through birth, both of whom claiming to be Christians and both of whom were part of very liberal, progressive, pseudo-Christian denominations. And I think Tim Walz was Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. And so you would have had a counterfeit Christianity, pro-death, and you would have had a massive deficit. You would have DEI, and you're seeing the cost of that with the Somali scandal in Minnesota. In addition, you would be seeing transgenderism just taken to the next level, mutilation of children, overturning of parental rights, suppressing of religious freedom, which was unprecedented during the Biden regime. You had Catholics being arrested for praying silently outside of abortion clinics. All of that would have been taken to the next level.
Yeah, it's wild. And the conspiracy, the fraud, whatever you would call this, like Somali daycare situation, feels like a conspiracy, but it's not. I mean, Tim Walz immediately is withdrawing from the next race because he knows how bad it is. Looks like it's $250 million stolen from child nutrition programs through these nonprofits. And potentially up to $9 billion in social services, but the investigation's ongoing. But they were funding these other countries to come in and take over America.
So yeah, with the sort of the powder keg, and there's multiple factors that are at work in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, in Washington, and Oregon, and certain states. There's these bright blue dots like Minneapolis, Seattle, and Portland where you have the concentration of population, and then it's the rural areas that tend to be conservative that are just so frustrated because the politics is driven by the bright blue dots in the urban cores. And so you get outside of those areas and people are sane and they're having to fun and deal with the implications of the urban insanity. But what you've got in Minnesota is you've got intersectionality and cultural social Marxism playing out to its logical conclusion. And so you've got immigration, and then you've got ICE coming in to deal with the immigration. That leads to this tension. It's like a squeezing vice in a powder keg that then leads to the unfortunate shooting of a woman that we'll get to this week. And so what happens with the illegal immigration, it's intersectionality. Intersectionality is sort of the scorekeeping on the social Marxist progressive democratic left. Think of it this way. You get a point for every minority item you are. So you're an illegal immigrant, you get a point. You're non-white, you get a point. You're Muslim and not Christian, you get a point. You're poor and not rich, you get a point. English is not your primary language, you get a point. So intersectionality, the more points you get, the more oppressed you are. The more oppressed you are, the more government goods and services and resources you get. And the more you're like, a sacred cow in India, and you just get to do whatever you want and you're untouchable. And so with the Somalis, you've got about 100,000 people that have come into largely in and around Minneapolis, and they are draining the social service net. I made some notes here this morning. 58% of those who are Somali, they do not speak English well, and so they have not assimilated into American culture. 39% do not have a high school diploma. 89% are on welfare, meaning they're coming into the culture and into the community, and then they're taking economically, but they haven't contributed.
No, I mean, we're a nonprofit, and our budget is smaller than most of these daycares we're taking in for. I mean, it's wild.
It is wild. Well, and in that too, let me get the stats, and we'll come back to it. Then 86% are on Medicaid. Only 28% of those who are native born in Minnesota are comparatively on Medicaid. 20%, 1 in 5 of the able-bodied working age men are not employed. And one half of the kids, more than one half of the children, minors, are living in poverty in the Somali community in Minnesota. And that is in comparison to only 7.6% of those born within the state. And so what you're seeing is people coming into the country saying, we tend to be Muslim. We're not going to speak your language. We're not going to assimilate into your culture. We're not going to share your values. What we are going to do is take your resources, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to steal from you. But you can't ask for accountability or audits or investigation, because if you do, you're a racist. And so this is how the left works. They just keep calling you, racist, sexist, homophobic, chauvinistic, patriarchal. They just name call you. And at the top of the progressive shame pyramid is racist. Well, you can't ask, hey, can we look at your books? Can we make sure that this is actually going to help people? You're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist. And there's a certain amount of white suburban guilt, particularly evident among, wine moms named Karen. And they're just like, we don't want to be racist, so we're just going to support all of this and defend all of this. And where it really helps their cause is the church. So churches that are committed to social justice and cultural Marxism, and denominations like the Southern Baptist Convention and the Presbyterian Church in America that historically supported slavery, you call them racist, they surrender. They surrender because they were racist. And so you call them racist, they don't, that's a trigger. And so what happens now, you've got 100,000 people and you have massive corruption. And what we don't understand is they don't think in national terms, they think in terms of kin and clan. And so a Somali comes in, they're committed to their kin, they're committed to their clan, meaning even if there is fraud, they're going to fill out the paperwork and they're going to defend their kin and clan because they have no allegiance to the United States of America. They don't see themselves an American citizen. And now there is an investigation. Are we sending money back to al-Shabaab and terrorist organizations back in Somalia? So not only is there fraud in America, are we supporting our Islamic jihadist enemies overseas? And just the mind melt for me is, we were in the Eisenhower building next to the White House, my wife Grace and I, about a month ago, and we're meeting with members of the Trump cabinet. I think it was Kristi Noem came in, and we were getting sort of debriefs and reports as part of the National Faith Advisory Board. And they told us that in addition to every dollar spent in Minnesota, it was matched with federal dollars. So if you're looking at, so Landon, think about this, like if there's like $1 billion in fraud from Minnesota, there's $1 billion in fraud from the federal government. And so we have only begun to shovel out the barn.
That's crazy. So do you think it's these people taking advantage of somebody that is soft like Tim Walz? Or do you think Tim Walz is preying on America and trying to invite these people in?
I think at the end of the day, I think people are, so if you're a Christian, you believe that apart from Jesus Christ, people are sinners by nature and choice, and that human depravity will prompt them to do evil. And apart from the Holy Spirit, we're all capable of doing tremendous evil, lying, stealing, killing, cheating. And it doesn't matter if you're black or brown or yellow or white or green or orange.
Yeah.
And so it's not about the color of your skin, it's about the nature of your soul.
Yep.
And so just to say you can't say that someone who is non-white is capable of sin or evil makes you a racist.
Mm-hmm.
As a Christian, character supersedes race.
Yep.
And nature of soul supersedes ethnic origin. And so the stupidity in all of this is thinking that certain people, because they have hypothetically been oppressed or their race or their gender has been in a minority position, means that they're inherently more holy or morally superior. It denies everything that Christianity says, and that is that we're all sinners by nature and choice. And it doesn't matter what your race, doesn't matter what your gender, doesn't matter what your ethnicity, that you need Jesus because of your sin nature, you are capable of great evil.
Yep.
So when we lose sight of the gospel, we lose sight of the foundational issue that people are sinful.
Yep.
And unless we have government that understands human sinfulness, we trust them and then they take advantage of us because that's what sinners do.
100%. So let's go down to the shooting. The shooting. Yeah. Was it a just shooting?
You know, the government, the courts will sort that out. What is it? Here's what we do know. Here is a gal who is a lesbian, and she's a Black Lives Matter supporter. She has a group that is opposed to ICE and organizes protests against ICE. In this country, you have freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. You can show up and you can protest. That's fine. What you can't do is impede law enforcement, and that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
She had appeared at multiple ICE raids seeking to impede law enforcement. The reason that she can do that is because she's underemployed or unemployed and her mother pays her rent. And what she does, there's a 3-minute video that is posted that shows that she takes her Honda Pilot, she parks it in the center of the street, blocking all the lanes of traffic, and for 3 minutes is honking on her horn while law enforcement is sort of doing a sweep of the neighborhood.
Yep.
Now, we don't know why. You could say, this is horrible. We don't know. Are there gang members there? Is there criminal arrests? Have there been, calls of terrorism? I don't know why they're there.
Yeah.
But I'm not law enforcement.
Yep.
That's law enforcement's job. And so and you could see it. You could see in the video, people that are trying to exit the neighborhood are having to drive up and around her car. And what she's decided is, today I have authority over the neighborhood because I'm a wine mom with a Honda Pilot.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what would come over a lady to do something like this. Like I see a fire truck and I'm like, oh crap, I need to pull over and respect their duty. They're risking their lives for me. These people they're protecting Americans, and now Americans are attacking them. Because
this is like, woe to those who call evil good and good evil and light darkness and darkness light. I mean, at the same time, we saw a shooting in Portland, and there was this eruption, and they're like, oh, they're Trenerago or whatever it is, the terrorist gang organization, and it was a gang member and a prostitute, and everybody's like, well, yeah, probably shouldn't, say that was a bad thing. Well, yeah, you think? Mm-hmm. And so, in this one, it is sad anytime somebody gets shot. It's sad when children lose their mother, and so we find no joy or celebration in that.
No.
But at the same time, if there is law enforcement and you are impeding law enforcement and they tell you to stop and you drive your vehicle at them, case law does say that now that vehicle can be considered a deadly weapon.
It's much more deadly than a gun.
Well, so now one of the reports I heard, and again, you don't know if you can believe what's online, there was a report that says the same officer had been hit and drugged by a vehicle previously. And so put yourself in his position. If you have a gun pulled and somebody is driving at you, you have a split-second decision to make. If it is in fact true that he has been hit by a vehicle and drugged, you're like, I've been here before. I'm not doing this again.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, humanize the ICE agents a little bit. I think
they want to go home to their family.
I think that's what we're missing. All these people are like, ICE is awful. ICE is a bunch of dads showing up to protect women and children.
Well, you know what the radical weird thing is about the majority of Border Patrol? They're Hispanic. Mm-hmm. They're bilingual.
Well, they did it legally, and now they want to protect what is here.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, though, this is where those who are inflaming passion and emotion on the irrational and sometimes, delusional left, it's like, you could be sending people into harm's way with rhetoric, but at the end of the day, it is perfectly fine to express yourself. It is perfectly fine to protest. But once you insert yourself into active moments of law investigation or activation, you're now impeding law enforcement, and you have gone from exercising your constitutional rights to committing a crime.
Yeah, I mean, to think about attacking a police officer or a Border Patrol agent or an ICE agent, like, I have tremendous respect for what they're doing, and I have a healthy fear of them, as I would assume you do. When a cop turns his lights on, you're like, oh, yep.
Well, so like growing up simply with our kids, they would tell you, like, if we were in a barber shop or we were out to dinner or coffee or whatever, if there was anybody in a uniform, I picked up the tab, and then our family would go over on the way out and thank them. And I would say, hey, these are the good guys. We thank the good guys. And at the end of the day, do you want to live in a world that is lawless anarchy?
Yeah.
And some people will say, well, the law made mistakes. Well, human beings do. I would rather live in a place that has rule of law than anarchy, because sometimes law will make mistakes, but anarchy is nothing but mistakes.
Yep. 100%. So what would you say in closing on this topic? What do we do about a place like Minneapolis?
Well, I mean, so what is going to happen in places like Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland is, number one, decent people are going to leave. Mm-hmm. They're just going to pack up and go. They're going to say the taxes are high. Chicago, New York, the taxes are high. The safety and quality of life is low, and if you want to raise kids, you can't. Mm-hmm. And for those who haven't lived in places like this, it would be shocking to you. Mm-hmm. Like where we're from in Seattle, there's a place underneath the viaduct downtown. You drive along I-5. It's called the Jungle. Mm-hmm. It's where thousands of people live. The cops will not go in. They've declared their own mayor, and they've named it their own city. Mm-hmm. It is literally, it is the zombie apocalypse. It is the purge. I haven't been there in years, but when we drove by with the kids, I forgot about it. Like, there's naked people humping. There's somebody naked taking a bath under a bucket. I kid you not, Lennon. Like, on the freeway, there's a naked dude high on meth on a stationary exercise bike going 100 miles an hour on the side of the freeway. And you're like,
could never raise kids there.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? I don't want your son there.
No, I don't want my son there.
You're gonna be like,
I don't want me there.
Yeah, I don't want me there. And it's but there are certain places in these cities, like right now in Dearborn, Michigan. There are places in Seattle. There's places in Minneapolis. There's places in Portland. The law enforcement won't even go. There's certain blocks and neighborhoods that are like, we're out, because it is so far gone, and the citizens there are so lawless and anarchist in their ideology that if the law enforcement wants to go home and see their family, they can't venture into those neighborhoods. And those sort of pockets, they only grow and expand like a cancer until it reaches the point where decent people leave.
Yeah.
And those areas go into major decline. And once the value of the property declines, then what happens is those who are Islamic and social justice move in. They take over, they set up some form of Sharia law as a stronghold, and then they're thinking generationally, having population, and that's exactly what's happening in Dearborn, outside of what is it, in Michigan today, and so that's what's going to happen in some of these places.
Well, and they're talking about Tim Walz is threatening to call in the National Guard and talking maybe we need to have a civil war. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we do. I would love to have a civil war with these people. It would end in 24 hours because they don't own any guns, and I don't think the National Guard or anyone's going to respect Tim Walz. No. But it would be a bunch of liberal wine moms against Americans with families. It would never work.
Well, so far it's like, okay, Tim, you're good at corruption and anarchy
and turning little boys into
and gender and mutilation. You're good at anarchy, corruption, and mutilation. And if anybody thinks that's a good idea, move to Minneapolis. If anybody doesn't, move to Idaho.
For sure. Idaho's great. Idaho's great.
Thanks for watching this video. It's a great honor to help you learn the Bible. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I promise you there'll be more to come.